Hi, in this episode of my biochemistry course, we're going to discuss carbohydrates. If we break down this word, we'll understand that a single molecule is built of carbon and water, and that makes it easy to remember the general formula of carbohydrates. Now, there are three types of carbohydrates that we're going to discuss today. These are monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Let's begin with the simplest form of carbohydrates, which is called monosaccharides. All monosaccharides have the same molecular formula, and if we multiply it by, let's say, 3, then we get a group of 3 carbon sugars that is called trioses. Then, in the same way, if we multiply it by 5, then we get a group of 5 carbon sugars that is called pentoses. And in the similar way, we can get hexoses, which are 6 carbon sugars. Now, that is not the only way we can differentiate monosaccharides. If we take a closer look, we can see that a single monosaccharide has multiple hydroxyl groups and one carbonyl group. Now, if we place this carbonyl group into the end of the molecule, then the sugar is called an aldose. But if we place the same carbonyl group from the end inside the molecule, then it will be a completely different sugar, and this group will be called ketoses now. And as I said, it is a completely different sugar, so it is not called a ribose, it is now a ribulose. If we do the same thing to glucose, then the ketose form of glucose will be called fructose. Although it is quite convenient to draw these sugar molecules in a linear form, this representation is not really accurate. Because what happens in a water solution between a carbonyl group of one molecule and a hydroxyl group of another molecule is that they form a hemiester. Here on the example of the reaction between two different molecules, you can see this reaction. But the same thing can occur within the single carbohydrate molecule, where the carbonyl group of the first carbon can react with the hydroxyl group of either the 4th carbon or the 5th carbon. When the reaction occurs with the hydroxyl group of the 4th carbon, then it forms a 5-member ring, which is called a furanose. And the way I like to remember that the furanose is the name of a 5-member ring is that they both start with the letter F. It's important to mention that oxygen is also one of the members of this ring, not only the carbon atoms here. But if the carbonyl group of the first carbon atom reacts with the hydroxyl group of the 5th carbon atom, then it forms a pyranose, which is a 6-member ring. Monosaccharides can serve as monomers for larger sugar molecules, such as disaccharides. But the question is, how are these sugar molecules connected? They are connected through a covalent bond that is formed through a dehydration reaction, and that is called a glycosidic linkage. The most common disaccharides are maltose, which is a combination of two glucose molecules, lactose, which is a combination of glucose and galactose molecules, and sucrose, which is table sugar, and that is a combination of glucose and fructose. Now let's discuss polysaccharides. Both animals and plants store sugar for later use in the form of polysaccharides, where plants use starch and animals use glycogen as the storage of sugars. Now there are two different polysaccharides that we can call starch. First one is called amylose, and it has a linear structure where each glucose molecule is connected to another by 1,4-glucosidic linkage. 1,4 means that the first carbon of one glucose molecule gets connected to the fourth carbon of another glucose molecule by a glucosidic linkage. But what happens in the case of amylopectin is that approximately every 10th glucose molecule gets branched, so it gets connected to two glucose molecules through 1,4-glucosidic linkage and 1,6-glucosidic linkage. Glycogen that we store in liver or muscle tissue is highly branched, and the reason for that is that highly branched molecules can get dissolved in water and also broken down much more quickly. And that is very important for our brains and for our muscles to function quickly. That is why glycogen is 3 times more branched than amylopectin molecule. That is all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.